Hello, welcome to a new Max Chroma tutorial video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over creating another type of test pattern quickly, just to show you how I have another free technique of extracting any custom color from an image. And it's really such a cool technique. It was pretty eye-opening when I found out about it and saw how it works. And it's so simple in how it works. And at the end of the video, I will actually upload it onto my PayHip site. Again, let me just show that real quick. I'll just pause this. Okay, so at payhip.com/maxchroma, and I've got some of these things. If you go to free products or you scroll down, you can see things like the HCWB custom color range are free. Now, I've had some people ask questions or look at this, and when I show that you can download it now, asks for an email address. You don't have to put a real email address in here. So it's not like you have to give me any of your actual information. I could just type in not a real email at notarealwebsite.com. Hit continue. Items ready for download. Hit download. It's essentially going to send an email to that address, but it doesn't matter. It's going to get kicked back. It says download page has been emailed to not a real email at notarealwebsite.com. You can still download this. It's right here. Download that, and I'll add the other videos in as well. But there's even some of these YouTube videos I have on there. So when I click download, it still downloads the action file. So you don't have to actually give me real information. That's not what I'm after in having things on this site. It just lets me keep track of the products that I have available. So anyway, looking at this test file, I'm going to just kind of create something. This is all a whole bunch of swatches of the color white and black mixed in the color model that I refer to as HCWB T, S, G, and M, tints, shades, grays, and midtones. So that's hue, angle, and then chroma, white, black, tint, shade, gray, and midtone. We'll get into all of that color stuff in another video that focuses on just color models. But using this test file, I actually used it to generate a lot of and test a lot of the methods of extracting things like the black, or that was actually the white, the black gradient, other ones, you know. So anyway, not getting into that in this video. Let me just delete all this stuff. I just wanted to make another test and kind of explain things at some point about how I organize some of these colors. But with this one, I just want to sort of create a new test file that includes as many of the hues blending as I can into gray. And I may not even do this with all of this. Literally has all 360 degrees of hue. It's kind of artistic in how it creates it. But let's just have the magic wand tool with zero tolerance, non-contiguous. And I'll select all that muted cyan stuff and Control-Shift-I invert. And then I've got the selection of just this. It is already, it's not anti-alias, so there's no fuzzy pixels there. This is just an exact selection. I generated this file in Adobe Illustrator. So let me right-click here, layer via cut, delete the other layer. I think my total size of this test file, I'm going to make it, so I'll do image canvas size. I'll make it about 12 by 12 inches. Then I'm going to bring some guides to the center, 6 and 6. And then I'm going to take this, Control-Shift, or just Control-T to transform. Hold Shift, and I've put it over that way. So I kind of want the gray to face the center and not the outside like some of the other test images. Really, the grays are all similar. They're at the center of this color model. And let's just change that down in size here. And the size is really going to be based on how I can fit them around, maybe in 12 degrees of hue. So I'll just test it a little bit first. What I do is hold Alt and Shift, drag it over here, and then Control T and rotate it holding Shift so it snaps into place. Then I'll take this one and Control U to open up the HSL and do 180 degrees, so that's the cyan. And let's just go ahead and sometimes I just make actions that I don't really save to make certain things quicker within this. And I mean, I don't know if I'm going to use it actually, but what I would do is merge these two and then Control T. You see I can now rotate them around the center point. What I'll do is duplicate this. And I mean, I guess I'll record the action just to show you. So I'm recording now. And I'm going to duplicate the layer and then Control T, hold Shift. And you see that's 30 degrees. See how they overlap a little bit? I will end up shrinking it just a little to prevent that. But then I would do Control U and shift by 30 degrees of hue. So that creates the orange and the azure blue, and then stop the action. So now if I just hit play and play and play and play, I just created that color wheel really, right? But as I mentioned, I don't really want those to overlap. So going back a little bit, actually I'll just Control Z, see I can get back there. I might not be able to. Okay. Let's go, and I'll just delete this layer. I'll take this one and just make it a little bit smaller, like so. Move it so it's snapped into place, hold Shift Alt, go like this, rotate it, and I'm going to Control U, open up the HSL, 180 degrees, Control E to merge it down, and I think we could actually play the action again. Yeah, now they're not overlapping. Okay, and if I wanted them to be closer, I would just have done it a little bit differently. Not have shrunken it down as much. Okay, but let's say I want to include some of the in-between hues. I'm going to merge all these together, make a new layer, duplicated, Control T while holding Alt and Shift. Now this is actually, they have a setting in here, preferences. It's a legacy transform. Use legacy free transform. They had changed some stuff in the Adobe CC 2019 updates where they changed how the transform was working, where you didn't hold Shift anymore and Alt to do the same things. And a lot of people, myself included, were using it for so many years a certain way that it kind of changed my workflow. So I like the fact they have used legacy free transform. In legacy free transform, I can hold Alt and it's non-proportional. I have to hold Shift to make it proportional. The 2019 version was more like it's always proportional unless you hold Shift. So they kind of reversed it. I like it the old way. So holding Alt and Shift, and then Shift to rotate. We have the little corner piece there. I'm just going to get these right into that point there. Okay, and then I've rotated it 15 degrees. So I'm going to rotate the hue 15 degrees. Okay, so now I've got a whole hexagon of the different tints, tones, and shades of red, and then 15 degrees red, orange, and then orange, golden yellow, yellow, etc., all the way around the hue circle in 15 degrees of hue. I could go and do this again, but instead of using this layer, I'll actually use the original layer. And let's go ahead and put maybe some gray behind this. So gray behind everything. And you know, for me, this is where all the color stuff, all the science stuff starts to bridge with art. For me, this is also an exploration of art. So let me go ahead and use the other layer. I'll hold Alt, duplicate it up, Control T to I'll hold Alt and Shift to shrink it down like this. And I don't need to rotate that one. I can keep it right there. And basically, yeah, they're not overlapping. Okay. Rotate it. It's kind of got to go back. Or if we look at these, let's look at it this way. So this one is 0 degrees. That's 15. I guess, yeah, I really should have maybe done every 10 degrees of hue. So, because I'm going to kind of bring them in, let me every 5. So let's say go 0, 5, 10, 15, like so. Let's try it like that. And I'm working in 16-bit. When shifting all these hues around, it helps to be in 16-bit. So let me duplicate that again. And just going to try to nest it in as close as possible. And Control U, let's only go 5 degrees of hue. And then do this again. And I could record that, but I'm really doing a different rotation each time. Okay. Just slightly smaller. And then Control U. Now I need to go 5, 10 degrees. Oh, wait, backwards, because really the red is here. I didn't rotate it. They're already in place. So actually we're going to do -5 degrees or -10. It's got to become, let me set this to HSL color, HSB. It's 30. I want it to be 10, so I got to go -20 hue. Would have been easier if I just rotated the thing. All right, -20. So now we've got, I'm looking at up here in the info panel, HSB, 0 degrees, 5 degrees, 10 degrees. Let's do it again. And it's interesting how this creates a spiral. Okay, I might as well make it easier for myself like that. Rotate it in, just barely, not really touching. Control U, so it's 5, 10, 15 degrees. Yep, and then we'll do it again. Duplicate. Like so, and again, I don't have to rotate, but just to make the math easier in my adjustment, let's bring that red one up to here, and then not really touching. And then, so it's 5, 10, 15, that'll be 20. We really only have to do one more after that. We're back to having the 30 degrees. Okay, so that's 20. We'll do one more. Because what I'm going to do is include this test file in the download of, it's not going to be a new action. It's just going to be a file that has a couple adjustment layers to show you how you can extract any custom color differently than the color range. It's not about the HCWB color range, but this gives me the ability to start teaching about how I created the HCWB color range. And it's a pretty interesting way to see what happens with blend modes and color. Okay. Control U, 25. So now I've got these on the outside edge are every 30 degrees. And then if you follow the spiral in, we have 0 degree hue. Let's look at it with the color picker. 0, 5 degrees right there. 10, 15, 20, 25. And as long as you're in 16-bit, it shouldn't shift the hues around. If you were in 8-bit, it starts to shift the hues in within all these tints and tones and shades. Let me just see. Yeah, for the most part, it all stays in 25 degrees. If you're in 8-bit, it does not maintain that when you start shifting the hue of those tints, tones, and shades. The RGB values just don't contain enough information to know the hue in the most like chromatic or desaturated levels when you're shifting it around. If you create it that way, it still depends on in 8-bit if it has enough data to contain that. You know, you're talking about getting it down into like the lowest numbers, you know, like 1, 2, and 3 RGB. Anyway, Control E, I'm going to merge all these together, and let's just clear the guides out. So I've got an interesting little color spiral, color wheel test pattern that has literally hundreds and hundreds of swatches of color within every 5 degrees of hue. Okay, so it's not necessarily the same as the one that I made with the 360. Okay, if I look at that file, color pattern spirals test. This one goes every 0, 1 degree, 2 degrees, 3. Literally goes into, has all 360 degrees of hue represented in these hexagons. And again, we'll get into the hexagon color model and the HCWB TSGM color model in other videos. I don't really need, I've got the grayscale ranges here. I mean, I could just go ahead and put a gradient, black to white, make it radial, maybe reverse it, and that's kind of cool. Let's just do like this. And, you know, should I put a outline around this guy? Maybe like a stroke around them? Nah, I don't want to. Oh, did that go to the edge? Did I crop this out to the edge or something? Oh yeah, I did have them at the edge when I started the file. Okay, so let's just merge this down, flatten it, right? I don't like that anti-aliasing showing the edge. Let me undo. We'll put a little bit of a border. So image canvas size, and I'll just do it 13, 13. Sorry, I hit the microphone. Okay, layer, flatten,